Welcome to Miss Groshen's History Corner as we continue to learn a little more about the early Florida history. So, as we talked about in 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue, which opens up this kind of a new world for explorers coming from Europe to discover what they refer to as the New Land. So, in 1513, we have Ponce de Leon who shows up and he kind of checks out Florida and he's like, oh, look at all the flowers. Let's name it Florida. Very creative, I know. And over the next 40 years or so, more explorers are coming. For the most part, Florida is being kind of claimed by Spain. Our explorers are coming over here for three major reasons: God, glory, and gold. They're looking for gold and riches to bring back to their country. They're looking for glory, meaning this is my land and power. And they're looking to spread their religion. Religion was a really important part of a lot of these countries and these colonists. These conquistadors, the explorers, because they thought it was their mission to spread more about their religion. So in about 1565, we have King Philip, who's kind of saying he's the king of Spain. He's like, Spain is mine. Spain is ours. We're the ones who claimed it. We've had three major countries coming over to the Americas trying to establish them. We had France, Spain, England. England kind of settled into what we now refer to as the United States of America. So if you have North America, we have like Canada, United States, Mexico, and then Central America. And then down here we get to South America. So England comes over and kind of gets right in the middle, but not for really another 100 years. They start really coming over closer into the 1600s. So after Spain. The French are coming and the Spanish are coming. And the Spanish hit more of the South, again, in the Florida, the Central America, South America, which is why the Spanish language is so dominant in the southern part of the Americas and why England establishes the United States, so English becomes more common. And then you're wondering, well, what happened to the French? We'll let you know. So in, again, 1565, we have this Frenchman, René de Lotbinière, who establishes what we refer to as Fort Caroline. A fort is like an area where it's like a settlement and they build giant walls and defend it to make sure no one can come. It's kind of their way of holding the land. So again, the Spanish king's like, whoa, that's my land. You can't have my land. So he decides to send one of his top people, Pedro Menendez, to come and take care of it. Because at this time, the French have now sent Jean Revolt over with more soldiers and 600 soldiers for Fort Caroline. Again, Spanish is mad. So here comes Pedro Menendez, and he's coming over with about 800 soldiers or so. And he comes through, and the French and the Spanish into like this ocean war, like in the water, like the boats are chasing each other, and it kind of doesn't turn out great. And Revolt and the French go back up to Fort Caroline, and the Spanish are going to land in what we now refer to as today St. Augustine. And this is where the establishment of St. Augustine comes from. So on September 8th, 1565, the Spanish land, and they name it St. Augustine because it is the feast day of St. Augustine, who is a saint in the Catholic religion. Where a lot of this argument is going from is not only is the Spanish mad that the French are showing up, they're mad because they're bringing their religion. They're bringing what they call the Huguenots, which are French Protestants. The Spanish are hardcore Catholics. They're like, oh, no, that's not what we're going to be doing here. So again, the war continues. So now we have the establishment of Fort Caroline, which is the French, and then we have the establishment of the St. Augustine, which is the Spanish. Well, in Fort Caroline, Jean Revolt, he decides he's going to get his men, and they're going to come down here, they're going to sail down, and they're going to attack St. Augustine and end it before it really starts getting going. Well, at the same time, Pedro Menendez takes his fleet, and they come up to Fort Caroline. So the Spanish gets to Fort Caroline, and because all the soldiers are gone to go defeat St. Augustine, they take over Fort Caroline. They keep women and children, they spare them and them down to Havana, and they take over the establishment. Then, during this time, the French, with Revolt, get into their boats and they come down to attack St. Augustine. But what they don't know is they get hit by a hurricane. And this hurricane takes all their ships and kind of wipes them out down by Daytona. And they kind of land along in this area. Well, the Spanish find out that a bunch of the French, about 100 men or so, are hiding out here in the inlet. Now, in inlet, they're able to kind of like charge in from one side and the French can't escape. So they come in and go, hey, we've already took your fort. You might as well just surrender. And they give them this option of, if you are willing to surrender and become Catholic and change your religion and pledge your loyalty to Spain, we'll let you survive. Well, most of them are like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And 111 Frenchmen are killed. About 16 are spared. And again, that's because they say, all right, fine, I'll be a Catholic. So a couple weeks later, more Frenchmen show up, about 134 or so, maybe a little more, including Jean Ribault, the leader of the French. And once again, the Frenchmen are given the choice, and majority of them, 134, are slaughtered. So for those of you who are familiar with Spanish, and again, I'm not as good at pronouncing as you are, but this word here, manzanas, means slaughter in Spanish. So the inlet is now given the name Manzanas Slaughter Inlet, Slaughter Island, because so many Frenchmen were killed and murdered by the Spanish during this defeat. Some people think this was terrible. Oh, how could they do that? But at the same time, we have to remember this is war. This was the settlement. And if things had been different, if the French hadn't been hit by a hurricane, how much different would the country be today? So this, again, is how the Spanish ended up holding on to control of Florida, why the French do not have control of Florida, and what happened during this time. And again, this establishes St. Augustine, which is 1565 is the establishment, and for the next 400 years continue to have a permanent colonization. There are people living there from that point on until today, so it is the oldest permanent colonized place in all of America, and that's why it is such a popular, famous